set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now waiting, better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything.
Hey everybody, this is Praxis. It's really popular for hosts of prepping channels to always be advocating to you guys to go out and spend your money and turn it into stuff. You know, take your money, it's about to just lose its value. Like next week, your money's going to be worth zero. So you might as well go out there and spend it and get all the gear that you need and put it into precious metals and buy food. And I advocate those things here on my channel too. It is a good idea to diversify your wealth. I use precious metals. It's one of the ways that I do that. I do get gear ahead of time. That includes ammunition and all sorts of other things that it's really popular on prepping channels to kind of advocate that you should be getting. The beans, bullets, band-aids, and all that kind of stuff. But there's one commodity that I don't think really gets talked about very much, and it is so important that it is a nightmare level event. I mean, literally a nightmare level event. You think about the classic nightmare that I guess kids and adults tend to have. I'll just give you a moment to think about that. Like, what's like a cliched nightmare that you hear about? Well, the one I tend to hear about a bunch is I went to school and I wasn't prepared for a test and I was naked. That's like a huge part of our anxieties for whatever reason. As a living human organism, we have a great deal of anxiety about the idea of finding ourselves being naked. Now, I guess there's social reasons for that, but I think there's also survival reasons for that. The idea of being clothed and sheltered is really important to us. I think a lot of us forget how important it is to us because clothing in our society is so easy to come by. It's kind of like that ungrateful kid that you have, and they have no appreciation for food because they just go into the cupboard and there's always food there. And in our society, clothing is very similar to that. There's always clothing. It's being given away. You can go to thrift stores and buy like t-shirts for $1. But it's something that's really important. And if we are going to be in a future where things like this are less easy to come by, I think it makes a lot of sense to kind of procure that stuff now. One way is to go to thrift stores and you can get the stuff really cheaply. I know I'm always having friends that are just getting rid of things. In fact, just last year there was a family and they had a bunch of t-shirts that had been made up with some kind of a logo for some company, and they didn't really have anything to do with them. They know that, I'm the kind of guy that can always find a home for that stuff, and I found a home for that, and I've got boxes of t-shirts ready to go. I buy stuff ahead of time for my boy. That's really important if you have kids, to have clothing of different sizes. I know shoes are something that back during COVID, there were certain sizes of shoes that were kind of difficult to get. Now for myself here at our home, I have shoes for my boy from his size now all the way up until he gets to be my size. He's probably going to be a little bit bigger than I am, just looking at the genetics of the different family mixes that went into him. But I've at least got him up to that point. It's a really important thing to do right now because it's so easy to procure all this stuff. It is just, it's falling off of the vine, figuratively here in our society. And if you can get things like underwear and socks and t-shirts and, backup pairs of pants and things of that nature, I think it's really, really critical. It's something that people don't really value, but the reason we don't value it, again, isn't because it's not important. It's just because it's always been something that we've been just gagging on spare clothing. People literally take clothing they just don't like the look of anymore and put it in these dumpster-like things, not literally dumpsters, although those sometimes people just throw it out in dumpsters. But there are those dumpster things, the things where you can donate to clothing for the world, or Salvation Army or Goodwill or whatever. People are literally taking their clothes that they just don't like the look of anymore and throwing them into dumpsters. That shows how much people value this stuff. But that would change on a dime. Is that a phrase? I think that's a phrase. If clothing ever became scarce. I mean, I go back to that nightmare, like the classic nightmare that people have is to not have clothing, to not be able to cover themselves up. Again, there's social reasons for that, but it's also, it's a little chilly in this greenhouse. We haven't had any sun today. It's only 50 degrees out here. I'm wearing, just my, that's real, by the way. My intro with these slippers. These slippers were given to me as a joke from some girlfriends of mine, and I'm not the kind of guy to waste good clothing. So I took them, and they honestly could do without the bow, but if I were to just remove the bow, they'd still be pretty ridiculous looking, and for that purpose, I've just left the bow on there. And they're warm and they're comfortable, so I wear them, and you can see the bottom of them is starting to get kind of worn away. There is evidence, that's evidence of the fact that I really do use these things, and I'll just wear these into the ground, and then I'll eventually get rid of them when they're no good anymore. But I practice what I preach when it comes to not wasting clothing. Whenever I have access to something, I try to use it, even if it's like the slippers from the Wizard of Oz. And you might be saying when I say that, well, those are ruby slippers. Well, in the book, they're actually silver slippers in the book. They changed them to ruby slippers in the movie. Because remember, Wizard of Oz was that one of the first films to really push color like that, and that was a big selling point of the film. It's like Kansas was all black and white, and then it went into color for Oz. And I guess the producers of the film, or someone related to making the film, felt that having like a monochromatic silver slipper didn't sell the whole like color thing, so they changed them to red for the movie. But in the original book, they're silver. They're silver slippers. So these are literally the the slippers from Wizard of Oz. And even as ridiculous as they look on me, although I think I wear them pretty well, they're warm, they're comfortable, and I'm, like I said, going to wear them into the ground, and then I'll get some other slippers, hopefully not covered in sequins. But think about that, and take care of this stuff now. It is so easy to get clothes right now, and if you were in a position in the future where you need clothes and you can't get them, man, are you going to be kicking yourself, because you're going to remember today, and think about how you had the opportunity to get all this stuff, especially if it's for your kids, and your child needs another size of shoes or whatever, and you just can't get it into them. What a failure you should feel like if you had all this opportunity to get all this stuff really easily, and you just didn't do it, and there you go. So do it now. Super easy now to do. I know it's not crazy exciting, tactical vests and ammunition of all these different calibers, and precious metals are kind of fun because they're like pirate treasure and everything. We're just talking about t-shirts, underwear, socks, things like that. But super, super important. Otherwise, your life would turn into a literal living nightmare of the variety where you show up at school naked, unprepared for the test as well. That's it. I hope you find this helpful. I hope you take action on it. Thanks for watching. Hey YouTube preppers, if you want to see further evidence that I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is, here's a video where I literally am wearing pants on my head in order to stay warm.